Chapter 6, The Divine Paradox. The half-wise, recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe, imagine that they may defy its laws. Such are vain and presumptuous fools. They are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use laws against laws, the higher laws against the lower, and by the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy. And thus they triumph. Mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings, or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. This is the paradox of the universe, resulting from the principle of polarity, which manifests when the all begins to create. Hearken to it for points the difference between half-wisdom and wisdom. While the infinite all, the universe, its laws, its powers, its life, its phenomena, are as things witnessed in the state of meditation or dream, yet to that which is finite, the universe must be treated as real, and life and action and thought must be based thereupon accordingly, although with an ever understanding of the higher truth, each according to its own plane and laws. Were the all to imagine that the universe were indeed reality, then woe to the universe, for there would be no escape from the lower to the higher, divine word, and there would be the universe become a fixity, and progress would become impossible. And if man, owing to half-wisdom, acts and lives and thinks of the universe as merely a dream, akin to his own finite dreams, then indeed does it become so for him, and like a sleepwalker, he stumbles ever around and around in a circle, making no progress, and being forced into an awakening, at last, by his own falling, bruised and bleeding over the natural laws which he ignored. Keep your mind ever on the star, but let your eyes watch over your footsteps, lest you fall into the mire by reason of your upward gaze. Remember that the divine paradox, that while the universe is not, it still is. Remember that the two poles of truth, the absolute and the relative, beware of half-truths. What Hermeticists know as the law of paradox is an aspect of the principle of polarity. The Hermetic writings are filled with references to the appearance of the paradox in the consideration of the problem of life and being. The teachers are constantly warning their students against the error of omitting the other side of any question, and their warnings are particularly directed to problems of the absolute and relative, which perplex all students of philosophy, and which cause so many to think and act contrary to what is generally known as common sense. And we caution all students to be sure to grasp the divine paradox of the absolute and the relative, lest they become entangled in the mire of half-truth. With this in view, this particular lesson has been written. Read it carefully. The first thought that comes to the thinking man after he realizes that the universe is a mental creation of the all is that the universe and all that it contains is a mere illusion, an unreality, against which the idea his instincts revolt. But this, like other great truths, must be considered both from the absolute and the relative points of view. From the absolute viewpoint, of course, the universe is a nature of illusion, a dream, a phantasmagoria, as compared to the all itself. We recognize this even in our own ordinary view, for we speak of the world as a fleeting show that comes and goes, is born and dies, for the element of impermanence and change, finiteness, and unsustainability must ever be connected with the idea of a created universe, in which is contrasted with the idea of the all. And no matter what may be our beliefs concerning the nature of both, philosopher, metaphysician, scientist, or theologian, all agree upon this idea, and the thought is found in all forms of philosophical thought and religious conceptions, as well as the theories of the retrospective schools of metaphysics and theology. So, the Hermetic teachings do not preach the unsustainability of the universe in any stronger terms than those more familiar to you, although their presentation of the subject may seem somehow more startling. Anything that has a beginning and an ending must be, in a sense, unreal and untrue, and the universe comes under the rule in all schools of thought, from absolute points of view where there is nothing real except the all, no matter what terms we may use in thinking of or discussing the subject, whether the universe be created of matter or whether it be a mental creation of the mind of the all, is all unsubstantial, non-enduring, a thing of time, space, and change. We want you to realize this fact thoroughly before you pass judgment on the Hermetic conceptions of the mind and the nature of the universe. Think over any and all other conceptions and see whether this be true of all of them. But the absolute point of views shows merely one side of the picture. The other side is the relative one. Absolute truth has been defined as things as the mind of God knows them, while relative truth is things as the higher reason of man understands them. And so, while to the all, the universe must be unreal and illusionary, a mere dream of the result of a meditation, nevertheless, to finite minds, forming a part of that universe and viewing it through mortal facilities, the universe is very real indeed, and must be so considered. In recognizing the absolute view, we must not make the mistake of ignoring or denying the facts and phenomena of the universe as they present themselves to our mortal faculties. We are not the all, remember. To take familiar illustrations, we recognize the fact that matter exists to our senses. We will fare badly if we do not, and yet even our finite minds understand the scientific dictum that there is no such thing as matter from a scientific point of view. That which we call matter is held to be merely an aggregation of atoms, which atoms themselves are merely a grouping of units of force, called electrons or ions, vibrating, and in constant circular motion. We kick a stone and we feel the impact. It seems to be real, notwithstanding, but that which we know it to be merely what we have stated above. But remember that our foot, which feels like the impact by means of our brain, is likewise matter, and so constituted of electrons, and for that matter, so are our brains. And at best, if we were not by reason of our mind, we would not know the foot or stone at all. And then again, the idea of the artist or sculptor, which he is endeavoring to reproduce in stone or canvas, seems very real to him, and so do the characteristics in the mind of an author or a dramaticist, which he seeks to express so many others may recognize them. If this be true in the case of our finite minds, what must the degree of reality in the mental images created in the mind of the infinite? Oh, friends, to mortals this universe of mentality is very real indeed. It is only one we can ever know, though we rise from plane to plane, higher and higher in it. To know it ourselves by actual experience, we must be the all itself. Is it true that the higher we rise in the scale, the nearer to the mind of the Father we reach? The more apparent becomes the illusionary nature of finite things, but not until the all finally withdraws us into itself does the vision actually vanish. So we need not dwell upon the feature of illusion. Rather, let us, recognizing the real nature of the universe, seek to understand its mental laws, and endeavor to use them in the best effect in our upward progress through life as we travel from plane to plane of being. The laws of the universe are none less than iron laws because of the mental nature. All except the all are bound by them. What is in the infinite mind of the all is real in a degree second only to that reality itself, which is vested in the nature of the all. So do not feel insecure or afraid. We are all held firmly in the infinite mind of the all, and there is naught there to hurt or fear for us. There is no power outside the all to affect us, so we may rest calm and secure. There is a world of comfort and security in this realization once it's attained. Then calm and peaceful do we sleep, rocked in the cradle of the deep, resting safely on the bosom of the ocean in the infinite mind, which is the All. In the All, indeed, do we live, and move, and have our being. Matter is none the less matter to us, while we dwell on the plane of matter, although we know it is merely an aggregation of electrons or particles of force vibrating rapidly and gyrating around each other in the formations of atoms, the atoms in turn vibrating and gyrating, forming molecules, which in the latter turn form larger masses of matter. Nor does it matter that less matter, when we follow the inquiry still further and learn from the Hermetic teachings, does the force of which the electrons are but units is merely a manifestation of the mind of the All, and like all else of the universe is purely mental in nature. While on the plane of matter we must recognize its phenomena. We may control matter, as masters of higher or lesser degree do, but we do so by applying the higher forces. We commit a folly when we attempt to deny the existence of matter in a relative aspect. We may deny its mastery over us, and rightly so, but we should not attempt to ignore it in relative aspect, at least so long as we dwell upon its plane. Nor do the laws of nature become less constant or effective when we know them. Likewise, to merely mental creations, they are in full effect on various planes. We overcome the lower laws by applying still higher ones, and in this way only, but we cannot escape law or rise above it entirely. Nothing but the All can escape the law, and that because the All is the law itself, from which all laws emerge. The most advanced masters may acquire powers usually attributed to the gods of men, and there are countless ranks of being in the hierarchy of life, whose being and power transcends even that of the highest masters among men, to a degree unthinkable by mortals. But even the highest master and the highest being must bow to the law and be nothing in the eyes of the All, so that even in its highest being, whose powers exceed even those attributed by men to their gods, even if these are bound by and subservient to our law, then imagine the presumption of mortal man and our race and grade when he dares to consider the laws of nature as unreal, visionary, and illusionary, because he happens to be able to grasp the truth that the laws are mental in nature and simply mental creations of the All. Those laws which the All intends to be governing laws are not to be defied or argued away. So long as the universe endures, they will endure, for the universe exists by the virtue of these laws which form its framework and hold it together. The Hermetic principle of mentalism, while explaining the true nature of the universe upon the principle that is all mental, does not change the scientific conceptions of the universe, life, or evolution. In fact, science merely corroborates the Hermetic teachings. The latter merely teaches that the nature of the universe is mental, while modern science has taught that it is material, or, of late, that it is energy at the last analysis. The Hermetic teachings have no fault to find with Herbert Spencer's basic principle, which postulates the existence of an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed. In fact, Hermetics recognize in Spencer's philosophy the highest outside statement of the workings of the natural laws that have ever been promulgated, and they believe that Spencer to have been a reincarnation of an ancient philosopher who dwelt in Egypt thousands of years ago, who later incarnated as Heraclitus, the Grecian philosopher who lived 500 BC, and they regard his statement of infinite and eternal energy as directly in the line of Hermetic teaching. Anyways, with the addition of their own doctrines, that this energy is the energy of the mind of the All, with the master key of the Hermetic philosophy, the student of Spencer will be able to unlock many doors that the inner philosophical conceptions of the great English philosopher, whose work shows the results of a preparation of his previous incarnations. His teachings regarding evolution and rhythm are almost in perfect agreement with the Hermetic teachings regarding the principle of rhythm. So, the student of Hermetics needs not lay aside any of his cherished scientific views regarding the universe. All he is asked to do is grasp the underlying principle of the all is mind, the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. He will find the other six of the 7 principles will fit into his scientific knowledge, and he will serve to bring out obscure points and to throw light in dark corners. This is not to be wondered at. When we realize the influence of the Hermetic thought on the early philosophers of Greece, upon whose foundations of thought and theories of modern science largely rest, the acceptance of the first Hermetic principle, mentalism, is the only great point of difference between modern science and Hermetic students. The science is gradually moving toward that Hermetic position, in its grouping with the dark for a way out of the labyrinth into which it has wandered in search for reality. The purpose of this lesson is to impress on the minds of our students the fact that, to all intents and purposes, the laws of the universe and its laws and its phenomena are just as real, so far as man is concerned, as they would be under any hypothesis of materialism or energyism. Under any hypothesis of the universe, and its outer aspect is changing, ever-flowing, and transitory, and therefore devoid of substantiality and reality. But, note on the other pole of truth, under any of the same hypotheses, we are compelled to act and live as if the fleeting things were real and substantial, with this difference always between the various hypotheses, and under the views of the mental power, was ignored as a natural force, while under mentalism it becomes the greatest natural force. And this one difference revolutionizes life, and to those who understand its principle and its resulting laws and practice. So finally, students all grasp the advantage of mentalism and learn to know, use, and apply the laws resulting therefrom, but do not yield to the temptation which, as the Kybalion states, overcomes the half-wise, which causes them to be hypnotized by the apparent unreality of things. So consequence being that they wander about like dream people, dwelling in a world of dreams, ignoring the practical work and life of man, and at the end being that they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their own folly. Rather follow the example of the wise, which is the same authority states. Use laws against laws, the higher against the lower. By the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Following the authority, let us avoid the half-wisdom, which is folly, which ignores the truth that mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Remember always, students, that transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. The above quotations are from the Kybalion and are worthy of being committed to memory by the student. We do not live in a world of dreams, but in a universe which, while relative, is real so far as our lives and actions are concerned. Our business in the universe is not to deny its existence, but to live, using laws to rise from lower to higher, living on, doing the best that we can under the circumstances arising each and every day, and living, so far as is possible, to our highest ideas and ideals. The true meaning of life is not known to men on this plane, if indeed to any, but to the highest authorities of our own intuitions teach us that we will make no mistake in living up to the best that is in us, so far as is possible, and realizing the universal tendency in the same direction in spite of apparent evidences to the contrary. We are all on the path, and the road leads ever upward, with frequent resting places. Read the message of the Kybalion and follow the example of the wise, avoiding the mistake of the half-wise, who perish by reason of their own folly. And that's it for chapter 6. So I just wanted to ask you guys a quick question. When we're done this book, I wondered if any of you guys had any requests on what to read after. I've had one request for a book, that I have, which is The Secret Teachings of All Ages. This book, but as you can see, it's very, very thick. So I don't mind reading this book, but I wanted to see how many people were interested in it, and if any of you guys had any other ideas of books that you'd like me to read, drop me a comment and let me know. That would be super awesome, and subscribe for more awesome esoteric books. Love and light.